All right, we're ready to start learning how to write C# code, but the first thing we need is to install something that we can use to write C# code and to run it. Okay, so that's going to be an IDE, an integrated development environment, which is something that you will always find for any programming language that you want to learn. Any new programming language will have people with strong opinions about what is the best IDE, the development environment that you can use to write that programming language. In the case of C Sharp, our my preference is going to be to use Visual Studio, which is a development environment that is maintained by Microsoft. And I want to make a very strong difference because these days, as of this recording, there's two flavors of that. There's Visual Studio, which is the original Windows-based full-fledged development environment for writing Windows applications. And then there's this new thing that has gotten really, really popular in the last couple of years, which is Visual Studio Code. They are very different, okay? I use both all the time, even though Visual Studio Code is a more general cross-platform and cross-language tool that is very useful for many other programming languages. So actually, I use Visual Studio Code a lot when I write, for example, JavaScript or when I write Python. However, when I write Windows applications or when I write, for example, Grasshopper plugins or Dynamo libraries, I use Visual Studio at this point. This may change in the future if you are already transitioning from .NET Framework to .NET Core. I believe .NET Core will be very popular as a development environment inside Visual Studio Code. So we're going to choose Visual Studio, all right? And then we're going to download Community, whatever year you are in. Community is the free version that has all the basic features and that has nothing really that you need to, that has no constraints or no time limits. So what you're going to do is you're going to click here, and then you're going to download this file that is going to prompt. So where is that prompt? Here. So you're going to download this, and when you're going to download it, you're going to double click, and when you do, it's going to start downloading and installing like a few installers, and then this window will pop up. It won't look like this. What it will, it looks like this because I already have Visual Studio in my system, but it will look different. It will show whether you want to install Visual Studio Community, blah blah blah, and what it will look like. It will give you some options, such as, and it will look more closely like this. So it will ask you what components would you like to install in order to use Visual Studio. For the sake of this series of tutorials and for the sake of just C Sharp, what I would like you is to deactivate everything, all right? And then I will ask you to install the .NET Desktop Development Framework, okay? You don't need C++, you don't need mobile, you don't need Universal Windows, etc. And just in case if you want it in the future and if you think you might be interested in developing video games or developing 3D navigatable environments, you may want to consider installing Unity, which is now distributed as part of the package, okay? But no need to install C++ or any other component that you might see here, all right? So you're gonna click on .NET development and maybe if you want on Unity, and then you're going to install everything, all right? And once you install and everything and say yes to all the parameters, etc., then you will be able to fire Visual Studio, and then this window will pop up. I believe you will be asked to choose a theme for your Visual Studio. It will ask you whether if you want to choose a light theme or a dark theme. Light themes are great, but pros and people who care about their vision and how tired your eyes get, they typically use dark themes. It's just better, much better for your eyes. So I highly recommend that you use a dark theme, which is how I'm going to be using my Visual Studio. All right. I'm also a minimalist. You'll see that I'm always wearing black, so I guess that's is part of the thing. Now, this is going to be the main landing screen. I have here a bunch of projects that I work or that I have been working on, but for you this part will be empty. And then what you will be prompted will be to create a new project, right? So this is what we're going to click on, and then you're going to have here a bunch of options about templates that you can use to create new projects. For most of this series of tutorials, we're going to develop console applications. Console applications are going to be applications that can be run from a terminal, and I will show you techniques on how to do that. And only by the end, I will get into other topics such as developing libraries or dynamic link libraries, so DLLs, pieces of code that you can plug in and reuse in other environments, or maybe even standalone applications. I'm not sure if I will get there, but why not? But console applications are the easier ones and the fastest ones to start learning with. So we're going to click on console application .NET framework. That's not the core. .NET standard. No, this is not the one. Where are you? Here. Window. No, this is not the one either. Where is this? Console app. Sorry, let me just go search it here. Console. A console application in C# and in the .NET framework. This is what we want. All right. So I'm going to double click here, and I'm going to give it some name. For example, my first console application. I'm going to find somewhere where to save these files. For example, I'm just going to drop it on my desktop, right? And then this is the name, and this it will be the version of the framework that you can choose. We don't need to care about that, just choose whatever the default is. And I'm going to create. What this will do is that it will start a new folder with a lot of files, which are the solution that I am created. C# projects with all the files and all the possible things that it have are typically referred to as solutions, all right? And you can see, if I go to my desktop, you can see that here in my first console app, I have the main solution file, I have some hidden files that I need to take care of, and I have all the files that are part of the solution here, which I will explain over the course of these tutorials what these mean. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm zooming by pressing the Control key on my keyboard and by rolling my wheel mouse, so I can zoom in and out. So I'm going to zoom in so that you guys can see better what I'm doing. And that's it. So the environment is ready and we are ready to write some code. So let me move on to the next video where we're going to write our first simple program, a hello world program.